Now to other issues. Well, not very far from that, Nigerian manufacturers have slashed their investments by 56% in 7 years. Why? Well, the reality is an economic headwinds. Between 2016 and 2021, manufacturers' investment tumbled from 489.44 billion to 217.22 billion, and that's according to data collected by Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. One would have thought the figures would be going up, especially with inflation. Well, reasons for this range from operating environment, insecurity, which is a major responsible factor here in Nigeria, and it is a major responsibility of the government. Well, we have joining us to help us piece this together, former Commissioner of Commerce in Ogun State, and now the chairman of Odua Investment Company, Otumba Bimbola Ashiru, joins us virtually to look at what's going on with businesses and how governments should be helping businesses at this time. Good morning, Mr. Ashiru. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good morning, Inni. Thank you for having me around today.
Great. So at least you have first-hand knowledge, both from the private sector. You were in the private sector before you went to the public sector, and now you're back to the private sector. Tell us, as an insider, what really is the relationship between the private sector and the public sector? We keep talking about we want to boost investment, we want to have PPP and all of that. How much time do they spend together talking, collaborating and strategizing, for investments and businesses in the country?
Yeah, thank you very much, Ine. One of the key areas where the private and the public sector should work together. You see, relationship between private and public sector is like husband and wife. So for a private sector-driven economy, you must ensure that you carry the stakeholders along. And what do you mean by stakeholders? Those are the people that are going to be involved in your decision-making. You cannot take a decision as a government without getting the private sectors involved. And I'll give you a good example. You are taking a decision on the business sector, on the electrical engineering sector, telecommunication. You need to talk to the stakeholders. You must engage the stakeholders. Who are the stakeholders? You must be able to call up them and ask them questions on how their business can be improved. Because don't forget that these stakeholders, these private sectors, are the ones that are actually helping the economy in terms of IGR. I mean, they pay taxes. The income you get there, that's how you pay all the salaries of the civil servants and everything. So the most important thing is that you must engage them. For example, if you are taking bills to the national or state assemblies, the members of the assembly or the national assembly, they will invite private sectors, they will invite stakeholders so that they can now listen to the bills and put their own inputs. They need the inputs of the private sector to take decisions. For example, in the next few months, the budget allocation will be, they start thinking about budget. They must engage private sectors, they must have stakeholders meetings, they must have town hall meetings so that they can have their inputs. But if you run a government and you don't have the input of private sector, it's a failure. Look at all the economy in the world. The private sector are very, very key. They are very important. For example, if you have a president of any country visiting another country for bilateral relationship, they take key head of private sectors, key head of manufacturing industries, different industries to those countries so that they can engage and, in a network so that they can have ideas on how things should be done. So for government, private sector is the key function for them. They must involve the private sector. They must take decisions with them. They must ask the areas where they have issues and everything. So if you don't do that, then you must be a dictatorial government. Because from my own experience in government, like you said, I'm a front door. I've seen both inside and outside. From my own experience in government, when I was in government, we engaged all the manufacturing associations in Nigeria, the telecoms association, the engineering, chambers of commerce. We engaged them because we want to know how things are going to be done, what they feel. Because look at what is happening now, the valuation of Naira. Private sector cannot even take decisions. Then another thing that is happening is insecurity. And the areas where private sector will help you is the area whereby corporate social responsibility. Take, for example, when you discuss with them, they can tell you areas where they can engage, where they can support government, and the government will now give them what you
Yeah.
call tax incentives.
Okay, Mr. Ashu,
Look at
Mr.
Agbara.
Ashu,
I remember Agbara,
I'm
the
just
industry, the road was so bad.
Yes. I'm just wondering, in the midst of this, especially at a time like this, I think this question will come to a lot of people's mind. How much of these meetings that we talk about is actually free of political sentiments? You know, that commissioners of commerce or ministers of trade and investments actually meet with the private sector, and the conversation is devoid of political sentiment and interest. And let's just look at how we're going to, for instance, at this time when the country needs to boost non-oil export, how can we in reality deal with this issue and keep politics aside? How much of, that can you divorce from politics?
Sorry, I didn't hear that question very well. The volume wasn't good in your area. But if I get it right, I think
yeah,
the
I was
question
saying,
you're
can you hear
asking...
me now? Can you hear me now, Mr. Ashiru? Can you hear me now?
Sorry.
Okay, can you hear me now, Mr. Ashiru?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, so I was asking that, I mean, at a time like this, there's so much...
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you very well. Yeah.
Awesome. At a time like this, that there's so much politicking, how much of these decisions or meetings do you do or is being held? You're no longer in government, divorcing political sentiment and interest so that only the national development interest is placed at the fore. How much of lack of political sentiments do we have? How much of political sentiments do we have?
Okay, let me give you an example. As a government, as a business person, you must ensure that you are part of any government. Now, you see that all the businesses in Nigeria now, they are involved in government. They are involved in politics. They want to be friendly with all the aspirants because whoever comes in will now be their right. So, but the point is that, like I always tell people, government, businessmen have no business being in politics. They should ensure that whoever comes in, they give their support to the person. But your engagement must be there because, you support them financially, but at the same time, every businessman is selfish because what they are looking at is the interest of their business. So they now want to be sure that whoever comes in is somebody that will better the interest and ensure that their business thrives, which is very good. And I'll say this, government has no business in business. All government needs to do is to create the enabling environment for business to thrive. And how do you do that? Is the engagement of both public and private sector. So it's very important. And at the same time, you must ensure that all these things are done in a uniform way and in a strategic way. So politicking, you can't afford to be seen to be going out there and say, oh, I'm supporting this candidate, I'm supporting that candidate. But at the background, you can bring in some ideas, strategic objectives, strategic views on how the country could be run and how it's going to better your business. And that is very key. So the engagement is, you must be very, very careful. You must be tactful. You must be strategic about your engagement in politicking. It's very important as a business person.
All right. So now you're heading an investment group. I guess we should say congratulations there, being the chairman of Odua Investment. But how much has today's realities, economic realities, how is it affecting or changing your running of the business at this time with the politics election coming up, and then we have the war going on in Ukraine and some other inflation and all of that is affecting the economy? Oh, I think we lost Mr. Ashiru there. I do hope that we can get him back. But it'll be interesting to know that, especially as it's running an investment group, we're talking of inflation, we're talking of operating costs that is affecting everybody at this time, even individuals. And of course, businesses have to keep making decisions. We've had manufacturers come to say how they have to lay off staff to reduce their operating costs. They have to adjust because of the increase in the price of diesel. you know, and then of course demand is not increasing because consumers are also operating in the same environment. Liquidity is squeezed, so that means that demand may not be meeting up what expectations were. So it will be interesting to know how some businesses are adjusting to that reality. I think we have Mr. Ashiru back. Are you back, Mr. Ashiru?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So I wanted to know how today's reality is affecting your running off your investment group, you know, with inflation and all of that. What differences has it brought to decisions you have to make daily in the operations of your business?
Let me be honest with you, Ine. People say that this is now a reality of the world, and you must now start thinking out of the box. How do you make the best of the bad situation? Like you rightly said, everywhere, even homes, you must now start strategizing and see how you can focus. I will be honest with you, our focus is now to look at how do we augment our businesses. You know, we are in hospitality business. We have the airport hotel. We have Premier Hotel. So what we're trying to do now is to bring in investors that will. We've made a policy as a group now that we don't want to have more than 40% in any of our investments. So we're encouraging joint ventures. We're encouraging investors to come in and bring in business to join us for our business. And let me be honest with you, you cannot be doing things the same way. So we are now trying to ensure that whatever we are doing, we are trying to cut costs and save things. And at the same time, enhancing our production and productivity. And let me tell you this, we will try as much as possible not to add more to the unemployment in the country. What we are going to do is to ensure that our group, we are now trying to strategize. I'll give you a good example. Now, we'll have Wema Board. Wema Board is going to be managing all our properties. So the group is going to be a lean oldco, whereby the members of staff at the head office to be reduced, and we are moving them to all our branches, all our operations. So the point is this: you must now start thinking on how to make the best of the bad situation, how to enhance revenue, and those are the things we're focusing on. So, but the issue of diesel, cost of production, is all over the country. It's all over the world. And I can tell you that is the effect of the Ukraine war, which I keep on telling people that war, you can only see the beginning of the war, you don't see the end of the war.
Yeah.
And that is what is happening. And we need to work on how, even as a country, look at the rate of exchange. The dollar naira has been devalued. No businessman can plan strategically anymore. Even the insecurity in the country is there. So all these things, you need to balance it and ensure that you make the best of the situation. And those are the things we're strategizing on. And we have retreats regularly to ensure that we get the business on track. And don't forget that it's a chain. We are all involved in all the businesses all over the country. So we must ensure that we get ourselves back to track and ensure that we get the things done properly.
Yeah. So when you talk about re-strategizing, in my conversation with manufacturers and all that, one of the strategy people seem to be adopting now, we're hoping they adopt it more, is reverting to local raw materials, you know, as a way of cutting costs. And also, when you talk of the Naira, boosting the Naira, is your group, are you looking at areas like this?
Yes, I will tell you this. Nigeria as a nation, we have no business being an import-dependent economy. We are supposed to be an export-dependent economy. And we should focus on agriculture that will lead into industrialization. And that's why you are talking about raw material. You must be able to grow, you must be able to plant and grow. But what are we doing? We are not doing that anymore. The bandits have occupied all the farmlands. Even the farmers have now become, some of them have become bandits. So that's the problem. Insecurity is another problem we have in the country. So the local raw materials, they are what we are supposed to be using to support the industries, manufacturing industries. But now we bring in raw materials into the country, and there's so much pressure, and that's why naira is being devalued all the time, and you cannot even plan within your business. So the point is this: let us encourage agriculture. And how do we encourage agriculture? You must have good preservation system, this infrastructural system, because the roads that leads to the farmland, the rural dwellers will not even plant anymore. They couldn't do anything because they are worried. They'll be arrested. They'll be kidnapped by bandits. And even whatever revenue you're making, when somebody is being kidnapped, somebody that makes revenue over 5 million naira in a year and is being kidnapped and they're asking for 50 million naira, how would they cope? So the problem is that we still need government. And I'm saying it, we need government to come to the aid of an average Nigerian. The security system is bad. Insecurity is there. You know, formerly, we used to have people bringing in farm products from the north. It's not possible anymore. We don't have farmers anymore. We don't. So the problem is that, like you rightly said earlier, it's a win-win situation. Government must come in. They must secure the country. If you don't secure the country, there's nothing you can strategize. The raw materials we are talking about, it won't work. For example, I happen to be someone that commissioned the first ethanol company in Nigeria. What they needed was cassava, and they were admiring for 280 tons per day, and that created job for 15,000 farmers because they are being paid. And these are the products that is being used. We get starch from ethanol, from cassava, we get CO2, and those are the cosmetic things that we're using. But what are we talking about now? The farmers will not grow that. If we create unemployment, they now, like I do work is the devil's workshop. So now these guys now become bandits, they become kidnappers because they can make quick money.
Yeah.
So we need to do that. Government needs to do that. And like I've said it, and I've told one of the governors before, that they should announce that whoever is in the forest, they should come out within a month. If you're in the forest, you have no business in the forest, what you need to do is go to the forest and bombard all of them. We have the technology to identify those people who are bandits in this country. So we must work on that. If we don't sort out the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, it is back to basics. And things will continue to happen in this country.
All right, Mr. Bimbo Ashiru, Chairman, Udua Investment Company, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. And, well, I guess it's all the same. We kind of run away from the fact that the issue of insecurity has to be dealt with. If we even want to use local raw materials, then it has to be available. If it has to be available, then there must be security in the country. This is a huge job awaiting the next administration. So while politicking and electioneering, this is a major factor to consider. Well, let's